This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay, I think we've got most people here. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Southampton Select Board for June 16th, 2025 at about 6:05 p.m. We have a quorum here, I believe, with myself, John Lumbra, and Ellen DeBrune. We are missing Stephen Johnson and Dan LaValle, and they may tune in, but in case they don't, we are three. And then for Finance Committee, if you guys would like to call yourselves to order, please.
Yep, I'll call our meeting to order. In addition to the usual suspects, we welcome our new member, Jamie. So,
Absolutely. Welcome.
Right. Thank you. And my apologies for being late my first meeting.
No, that's quite all right. No, you're not late, really. Good. And we've got both Chief Illingsworth and Chief Fasoli in as guests as well. All right. I think, here comes Stephen. Hold on. Hey, Stephen. Okay, great. All right. So I think we've got pretty much a full house. This is who we were expecting. And then, Scott, we'll turn it over to you. I think our basic focus for the meeting tonight is just to talk about end-of-year transfers. And so we'll let you walk us through those in terms of what we need to do, and we'll take it from there. So if you can make that as a little bit bigger, at all possible. I don't know what's possible. There we go. Much better. Thank you. Okay, Scott, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so these are our traditional end-of-year budget transfers. There's some smaller ones and there are some larger ones. One of the things just to keep in mind that hopefully next year we won't have as many. A lot of these will be under the new budget process. For example, the library maintenance and the library expenses would be able to just, they're going to be essentially in one big bucket instead of having to be transferred at the end of each year. So that's going to help kind of alleviate some of these. But the bigger ones are usually the ones from wages to expenses or vice versa, which we would need approval regardless. So if it's a small transfer from like library maintenance that you see to library expenses, that would just be something that Johanna could automatically do. But if you go down to one where it's assistant accountant wages to highway building, that would still require select board and FinCom approval regardless. So a lot of them are usually the standard ones that you've probably seen in the past. Some of the bigger ones that you can see, the biggest ones that are outside of the normal municipal departments are the $87,000 for elementary expenses. That's something that we met with Dawn and her team. Their Norris School is in the negative, about $87,000 right now. Technically, it's closer to about $300,000, but they were able to use some grants and some other funding to make that up. The other big one is health insurance. So with the increases, especially with the 20% increase going into next fiscal year, one thing that we do, we bill a month in advance. So we're billing June for July. Additionally, that we had some open enrollment numbers. Jin's not here, unfortunately, but we had some increases in enrollment numbers as well. So that would increase it there. Legal expenses would probably be the next one. Everything from the council at town meeting. One sec, Bradley's just. Sorry, I'll get Bradley's just trying to join on the phone. Legal expenses, everything from the land transfers to the cannabis to town meeting and all the override stuff that kind of significantly increased it. So we have the billing up until April, May, and then we're just waiting for June. So that's just to give us a little bit of a buffer for the June bill. Most of the other ones, such as general highway expenses in highway wages, that's just Randall transferring from one to another. Same thing with like police expenses. It goes from wages to expenses. Same thing with overtime. The other major ones are just a deficit in our transportation for local school. And that would be the bigger ones.
Ron, question?
Scott, you want to get Bradley on? Yeah.
For some
Through
reason,
the chair, I have a question for Scott.
Okay, just a second. I think he's trying to get Bradley on first, Stephen, sir. Okay, Stephen, why don't you go ahead and ask your question to Scott?
So just as you scrolled by, I saw highway building expense listed twice with the same account number, more towards the top. I didn't catch the line numbers. It looks like 15.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Right. Overdrawn at $800. So just let the top of the column, Scott. So the overdrawn accounts are on the left, and then the sources of the funds, okay, are on the right. Okay, thank you. So we have highway building up there, and then also down below, Stephen, you said?
I thought so.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
6,500.
Yeah. So there's two highway buildings, the same account.
My guess is there's not enough money in one of those funding sources to pay it all.
It looks that way. Yeah.
Bradley will be coming in just momentarily.
Yeah.
Is Stephen's question that both general highway expenses and general highway wages seem to have the same account number? They're on the funding source. They're both using the same account number, but they're titled differently.
I see that the funding is coming from different sources, but that there are two different entries for the account ending 5705.
For highway
So I
building.
think I'm beginning to answer my own question.
Yeah.
Or John did.
Yeah. Okay, why don't we start let's start at the top and just kind of go through these. If Bradley's with us, let's just go down one by one. If we've got questions, let's just go through them. The first one's, so library maintenance, overdrawn, $285.90 coming from library expenses. Okay, let's just go quick. Any comment, thoughts? If not, let's just keep on moving to the next one. So go ahead, Scott or Bradley, run it down.
You're still muted, Scott.
You're muted,
Sorry about
Scott.
that.
There we go.
Bradley, Bradley, you're there? I think you just got admitted. Yep. So next is just the assessor's consultants for $1,125. The vocational transportation is changing from local school transportation to the vocational transportation amount.
So I have a question on that.
Let's talk about these that are large at least.
Mhm.
Go ahead, John.
So what? I mean, I guess somebody needs to explain to me why we didn't have the proper budget amount. Vocational transportation is a single bus. It runs 180 days. We know what the daily rate is. How are we short?
And this is the bus for Smith Voc, right?
Based on the title, yes, that's what I would assume.
Okay.
and it's coming out of local transportation, which is the buses for the elementary schools. I thought on the original run through, actually, could you just scroll down to see and what the note is? Because I heard, all right, so yeah, so something we're not budgeting correctly if that's going to make up for 3 invoices that are all within this fiscal year. Or am I missing something?
Bradley there to answer this at all?
Bradley, would you have any insight into that? I know we invited Eliza and Don, but I'm not sure if they made it. Let me text Bradley and make sure it's going through.
All right. The warrant clerk can tell you that I would not be able to spend the time to differentiate the different purposes from the one company providing bus services. This is not something that I would ever be able to pick up in looking at warrants.
Right.
It is kind of odd, however, that we're 2 months short in our budget for vocational transportation. I don't understand that. If there were extra services, maybe there was a field trip or something that they had to pay for, but that might be some extraordinary expense. But to not have the invoices yet for the full year and know that we can't cover them is concerning for sure.
Bradley, you there?
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Yeah, I have 3 invoices from Durham schools. I believe I checked, and it looks like every invoice that we paid so far said vocational school on it. I'm not sure if we budgeted incorrectly or we just, I'll check again, but I'm quite sure that we paid them properly, but we just have the 3 additional invoices to pay.
Right. So the vocational one, Norris pays that, right? Because the elementary, for whatever reason, the elementary school has to pay for the vocational transportation. That's not a Hampshire regional expense, but the and it's one bus. I guess my follow-up question, Bradley, would be then, how confident are we in next year's budget number? Because if we only took the existing line item and we increased it by the 3.5%, I think in the contract, we're just going to be short again next year.
I would probably be a little bit more confident in next year's number. I know last year was a little bit of a last minute thing, and because of the lack of people in the finance department, I know the school committee kind of had to rush to put everything together. So,
well, so to not belabor this, how about we know that we've got an issue with the vocational one. I would vote that make a motion that we skip over that. We not even act on that one tonight until you get more clarity on it. Okay. Anybody disagree with that? If not, let's move on down to the next one so we can make this an efficient meeting here. Fire building expense is the next one from fire truck maintenance.
I have a question. I know it looks like that line is in deficit $404 right now, and the request is for $2,500. So do we know what the additional 2,000 is for already, or is that just like an in case?
That is, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
That is, I've been paying building expense invoices out of the fire expense account, and that would be just basically to balance the budget back out correctly. What happened was Eversource bills, I didn't budget for that last year because we would never see an invoice for it. And so now that we have Vader, accounting, I'm able to see all those bills as they're taken out of my account, my building expense account. So that's why. And then we also overdid our, we had no lights outside the building. All the lights had basically worn out. And so I had to replace all those. And that was basically almost $3,000 unexpected. So that's why I'm requesting the 2,500 transfer, just so I can get my budget back into the proper account.
Okay. That answer your question, Becky? Okay.
Yes. And
Okay.
preemptively, I have a sort of more global question for the next one.
Mhm.
I'm wondering about the use of wage lines for expenses. Is there any kind of policy that exists for that? Or is it just kind of like, if there's extra money, we use it for whatever there is? I guess I'm asking because I sort of, as a policy, have an issue about using wage money for expense money. So can someone just sort of speak to that?
There is a period of time, the last 60 days of the calendar year, where through this process of both boards, you can use wages for expenses and vice versa. The rest of the time during the year, it can't be done. And if this exercise to kind of zero it out on both sides is an attempt to get the cleanest free cash at the end of the year when we close out the books. Because if we don't identify the funding source, then they'll take it off the top before we get to our free cash number when it's coming down, if that makes sense.
It makes sense that you can. I guess I'm just asking about.
Should we?
So like, yeah. For example, and maybe I know the chief is here, can talk about when we get there, the police wages being used for police expenses and what those cover. Like, are we just like, we have extra money and so now we can spend it on, buying more things, or are these things that should be budgeted and maybe this money should be going into free cash?
Well, in this particular case, I think that this is coming out of these 3 or 4 line items that are being requested for the 5625 are coming out of the assistant accountant wages. So that's when either we didn't have the assistant accountant for the full year, right, and had excess funds that were budgeted, but we didn't have a body in place, or it was when he took his extended amount of time, right? So that's why there would be money left over to be able to use it there. But your question about should we is a different question altogether. Yeah. I don't know if
as we've been talking about next year's fiscal year, and we're like, oh well, there's going to be leftover money because let's say the highway department doesn't fill its 5 positions or whatever, and that's money that we're already saying like is available for something else. I guess I'm just worried about using wage money for expense money. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so I would just kind of echo Becky there to a degree, and maybe this is a different look when I look at it. And I know we're on the fire building expense of 2,500, and it sounds like it'll cover the deficits that's there, and then gives roughly another $2,000 to get through the rest of the year here. But these are like, until you get down to winter roads expenses, those are all nice even numbers. So that tells me that all those accounts aren't overdrawn to the exact penny. $1,000 here, $1,250 there, $2,500 there, $800 there. So I would go back on Becky's side saying it sounds like we're just shifting even dollar amounts over there, or at least it gives the appearance that that's what we're doing, so that we can spend it by the end of the year.
Got her, Bradley? Response?
Oftentimes we don't have the exact invoice number to go off of. We know that there's an invoice coming for electrical credit invoice or something else, but we don't actually have the number in mind. So we have to give a nice conservative number to know that we'll cover that. So that's why there's some clean numbers in there. When we have the exact numbers, I'll use the exact numbers.
Yep. So Bradley, to that point there, are you comfortable with all these numbers that are in here that we're moving money into as the accountant you believe that that is money, as well as you can determine it, that you'll actually need to spend by the end of the year on normal routine things that would have been like the utility bills, for example.
Yes.
Okay.
Other than the departments who came to me with their own requests, with their estimates, like I had no input in those, but I trust that they're being truthful.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in the meeting. I'm sorry.
Okay.
John, can I ask you a question based on your past experience? You mentioned, right, the kind of the preference or the benefit for the free cash certification. If some of these accounts are left in a deficit, do we have the same net result at the end to free cash? I'm just wondering, right, are we?
Yeah, it just makes it a cleaner cover sheet, right? It doesn't hit all these dings as it's going down.
Does that potentially, though, leave us with like a comparability problem when we look at, prior year expenses to current year? Because we're going to effectively kind of mask that some of these expenditures were overdrawn, and it's going to make the transfer account potentially look overspent or like at higher than actually was incurred.
Well, you're still going to come out with actual expenses, though, at the end of the year, by the time we close the books, right?
Well, the old system had a separate column, and I honestly don't know if VADAR has that.
Yeah, that's my ultimate question, right? All right, when we look next year at assistant accounting wages, are we going to show that there was an additional $5,600 incurred there because of these transfers?
Yeah, we should find a way, in my opinion, to keep that so it's visible. I know in the past fiscal years, we've had to do 3 or 4 different transfer meetings. It's not just usually that we get all the transfers in one meeting. We've usually had to do it 2 or 3 different meetings worth. And so between now and July, that has to happen. So I don't know how many more of these we will have, but this looks like it's a pretty comprehensive one tonight. But I would agree that we need to keep a separate column that shows the transfers in so that we're very clear in terms of what was maybe under budgeted or underestimated. Yeah. Okay. Can we keep on moving, guys? Are we at highway building and the assistant accountant wages? Is that the one for the 5625? I know Becky started with a couple questions. Are we anything else in that particular category? Looks like all of those are coming there. And those are overdrawn in future expenses. Is that the right one? Yeah. Go ahead.
The estimated electrical credits for June 2025.
Yep. Okay. All right. Okay. Winter Road expenses for $12,598.09 coming from Winter Road wages. So this is the one. Yeah. Go ahead, John.
On that one, Scott, didn't we already absorb or take the $87,000 out of free cash to square that up this year, and now the account's overdrawn again?
No, that was just for the excess of winter roads and winter expenses. This is just keeping within that amount between the 2 budgets that we already budgeted for.
I guess I'm not following.
The free cash transfer was already handled. It's just we knew that there was additional money in winter roads wages that we could pull from, so we didn't pull the full amount for free cash. We took a majority from free cash, but then there's still some that we can pull from wages to cover the rest of the deficit.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. If no further questions, next one: police overtime, police wages, and then police expenses, police wages. Any comments there, Ian? I think you're here.
Yes. Yeah. To Becky's point, that is, I can understand where you're coming from with thinking that we're just trying to spend money, and that's not the case for my situation. Right now, my cruiser, I've been told, has significant exhaust issues. It's scheduled to go to the shop on Wednesday. I don't know when. Next Wednesday. I don't know what that'll be. It could be 2 catalytic converters, which is a significant amount of money, plus labor. Also, one of our cruisers has recently an unserviceable dash-mounted camera. Our police department doesn't have body cams. We have dash-mounted cameras. So because it's inoperable, it's outdated. They no longer produce these ones. I got an estimate for a new one. The quote I had for a new one is $15,000. If I were to have all my cruisers, all my patrol cars equipped with a dash-mounted camera, which I think is important, especially with the sentiment of transparency in policing nowadays. Also, a ballistic vest was required. That's actually for me. I haven't had a ballistic vest replaced in probably over 7 years. And I'm currently not in any deficit of spending. This is to make sure that I don't go into deficit if I were to get these purchases.
Okay. Thanks, Ian. Anybody have any questions of Ian? Okay. Hearing none, let's keep on moving. Highway building expenses and general highway expenses. Is this the one, Reggie, you were questioning the account number on, or?
Yeah, just the sources, the two sources have the same number but different titles.
Okay, I see that. Highway expenses and then the next line, highway wages on the right-hand column are both the same account numbers?
Correct.
Bradley, is that an error maybe, or?
The account numbers are wrong, or is the descriptions wrong?
Well, there's the highway expenses and highway wages have the same account number. Is that correct or not? 5115?
I would go with the descriptions. I would go with the descriptions over the account numbers. I might have copied it over wrong.
Sorry, I didn't catch the whole thing there, Bradley. Go ahead.
So it says expenses and wages, correct? There's two different descriptions, right?
On the right-hand column, yes.
Correct. Yep.
Again, I'm not looking, I can't see it right now, but I would ignore the account number. It was probably an error.
Okay. Oh, somebody just changed it. Scott?
So Scott and Bradley, we have on the left-hand side, a transfer that we're pulling in 81,000 from general highway wages, but then we're using general highway wages, the line above, as a funding source. So it almost seems like both the highway building or highway expenses would be pulling from highway wages. It doesn't make sense that we would use highway expenses for a funding transfer and then do a transfer back out of that or into that from highway wages. I'm wondering, Chris, if it should be highway wages on both of those lines on the right.
So I'm wondering the way it's looking right now that you said that, because we've got expenses going into building and then wages going into expenses. So something doesn't seem like it's right on that first one.
I agree.
All right. So that's who's typing? Is that Scott or Bradley? I can't see.
I think it's Scott.
Okay.
I would have assumed, Scott, that the correction was right-hand side.
Bradley, were we taking money out of the general highway expenses for the wages or vice versa?
What does the transfer description say? Pretty sure it's going into expenses.
One line is highway building to highway expenses, and the next line is highway expenses to highway wages. So we're transferring into one and then taking it out the next.
Yeah, so it's the first one that doesn't seem like it's right. I mean, that transferring 81,000 from wages to expenses, I would think would be believable given the vacancies at highway. But the one above that for the 60, I know Bradley, you can't see this because you're on the phone, but the 65.27 and 90 cents coming from general highway expenses to highway building doesn't seem to make sense. Isn't that the same? That's not the same account?
Hold up. Bradley
What does the
can't
transfer
see
request?
the edits that we've just made. So it's really unfair. I would suggest that what is intended here is that there are, whoop, don't move, please. There are a couple of expense lines, different accounts in the highway department that need to be funded from general highway wages.
Yeah.
And you need to undo all these edits that we just made on the fly and reflect that intent. That
Well, I was
there
going
are
to,
two
yeah.
expense lines that are somehow discrete, and they're going to be funded by one wage account. And you'll get the account numbers to make sense, because we've done it in committee and it's not right, and it won't get right until we start over again.
But I think Scott moved it back to the way it was. But number I was going to ask what the note was on number I. Because building would be normally part of expenses, is it not? So building expenses to cover that. Okay. All right. Should we hold off on this one too, or what would you want to do? The wage one seems to make sense from the 81,000.
I do have a question about that one.
Go ahead, Becky.
So right now there's $155,000 in general highway expenses, and we're moving another 81,000, and the description just says to cover expenses. I'm just curious what those are.
Yeah. Do we have any clarity from Randall on that at all?
I'm trying to track Randall down. He should have been here.
Well, while you're tracking him down, can we hop on down to the next ones and come back? I have another meeting coming up. The next one, let's jump down, is hold on.
Legal.
It was up above still, was it?
No, letter K.
Oh, it was a K. Okay, sorry. Yep. Yeah, so fire department wages and fire department expense are going from wages to expenses for 7,000.
That is for my capital expense request where the pickup was approved. They did not approve the decals and radio and lights that would go with that pickup. Originally, my quote back in January was for like $4,000, and a new quote is $6,350, $6,350 more. So I just put down 7,000 just to have a little bit of a buffer.
Okay. So that's basically to equip the truck that had been purchased through approved through the capital fund.
Right. The capital expense or account only approved the pickup itself. It didn't approve the emergency lights, the radio, or the decals.
Okay, understood.
The next line, EMT wages to maintenance expense, that would be to purchase new portable radios. All our portable radios, most of them are from 2010, actually 2008 to 2010, and they're unserviceable. Motorola does not maintain those anymore. So I'm looking to purchase 4 radios. Basically, they would become station radios for the day crew and night crew to have. They would stay here at the station. They wouldn't be going home with people.
Okay. Thanks for the explanation. Yep.
So,
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, this is one of those examples where I'm like, why was it not requested in the FY26 budget? It seems like we're moving money to, I know we need the equipment. I don't argue with that. It's just the way that the money's being moved.
Basically, I keep my budget at a minimum as much as I can, just to, keep my budget in check. And this would be, like you said, it's something that we need that we don't budget for. So that's why, money was left over at the end of the year, and I requested it.
Yeah.
Could my colleagues on the select board, maybe Becky might remember too, it seems we just did a raft of Motorola radios. Was that for the police department? And would this, if authorized, put the two departments on a equivalent or the same platform?
We haven't had, as far as the police department goes, Stephen, we haven't had any new radios, and they wouldn't be able to. They're on different frequencies. One's UHF and one's VHF. And for them to be interoperable, you'd have to have what they call a tri-band portable radio. And a tri-band portable radio costs anywhere between $8,000 to $13,000 a piece.
Okay. Thank you.
So I agree. If Chief says he needs them, he needs them. I just think that this is an example of, had this come out on the capital request, it probably would have been ranked extremely high, and there might have been some other things not funded, and this one would have got funded. I mean, it's over $5,000.
But each item is not over. How much is each item? Isn't?
Well, no, he needs the $35,000 to buy 4 radios.
Okay.
Unless I misheard.
Maybe
that $35,000 is just for the radios, right?
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I mean that could have been a capital request then, if that's the case. A minimum of 5,000, right?
Yeah, and it's not because, and I'm not saying this because they're not needed. They are needed, but I think we need to tell the folks, like, here's $35,000 just so we can get 4 radios, so they can talk to each other and have something that's not 20 years old. Here, no one's really going to know about it unless they watch this video, right? Because we're watching the budget, we're saving all the dollars. Okay, we didn't have that catastrophe. Let's get the radios that we need. And we're improving the budget process, so maybe this is just phase 2. We take a fine-tuned clone to how we do capital requests now. That's all.
Okay, I guess I don't have a sense of, are we going to keep moving with these, or do people want to put some of these aside that you're questioning until we have better explanation or a second meeting, or decide not to fund it at all or to allow the transfer?
Well, I'm waiting until we get the letter N.
All right. We know we've put one aside at least. Any luck on getting Randall at all? No. All right. Then let's keep on moving. Scott, I think you kind of explained the legal expenses already. Does anybody have any further questions about that? All right, then let's do number N, the elementary expenses, the prior year encumbered expenses, request for coming from there at 83,000, and then 4,000 requests from the reserve fund to cover this cost. Do we know more about that information from Dawn?
Bradley had met with Dawn and her team last week just to go over everything. Bradley, if you could just give a quick overview on. Oh, Bradley, if you could give a quick overview on what was discussed.
Don's team showed me a projection of expenses for the rest of the month, and they concluded that they needed about $80,000 more for expenses without over the budget. So I don't have the backup. Dawn said that she would email me that file that had that number, but I mentally took note of it and included it in the transfer request.
So I'd like to, when you do get that backup, Bradley, I'd like to see what it is.
Okay.
What the details are on that.
Agree.
Can somebody explain to me what the prior year unencumbered expense is? What is that money? How is it available?
Prior year encumbered expense.
So Norris School had requested about
encumbered,
100.
yep.
So that was for previous year bills. Norris School had requested about $180,000 last year, and they only needed $40,000.
65,000 of it was for the van that they used the preschool revolving account to use. So that's a big chunk of the money they reserved. So we had that available.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then how about the reserve fund? What is that and how much money is in it?
That's your money, Reggie. We give you $5,000 to handle all the emergencies that happen in town.
Is that the finance reserve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's 20,000 in there, right?
Yeah.
Yes, originally we had a $10,000 request for legal expenses a few months ago, I think it was end of February.
Yeah.
Now there's $20,000 available in your reserve fund.
Okay. All right. So, John, am I understanding that you would like to hold off and not deal with the elementary expense line tonight?
Yeah, right. So I have a question. I just want to see what the details are in there, and trust and validate. I also would want to hold off on that $81,000 or I would suggest we hold off on the $81,000 for the highway if there's currently $110,000 in there.
Mm-hmm.
What $200,000 are we trying to spend between now and June 30th?
Okay. All right. All right. I'm not sure we'll be able to answer these questions tonight, so we may need another meeting to do this. All right. Let's move on down to the group health insurance. We know that insurance costs went up, so it looks like if I'm reading this right, we're being requested for $17,500 and $42,000 for health insurance for retirees, and then basic group health insurance. All of that coming from prior year encumbered funds. And again, Bradley, this is money that had been available last year that was not spent.
So I know Scott explained some of this, that this is the increase. We pay in advance, right? So the June payment is actually for July.
Right.
Okay, I get that. But how did we get all the way up to June 16th and no bells went off that there was going to be a shortfall in health insurance? Again, even number, $42,000. The open enrollment, does it follow the fiscal year or the calendar year?
Fiscal year.
Fiscal year, right. So you only get open enrollment once. We know we don't have every single position that's eligible filled in it. And I just reiterate that when we were working on the budget, the select board made requests for details and they were never given. We were told you can't give out someone's name. It's a HIPAA violation, which isn't true. We didn't want date of births. We didn't want social security numbers. We didn't want any medical issues. All we want to do is employee X. What are they? A family, a spouse, or single? So that we could validate the math here. Are we just going to repeat this again next year? As we're moving money in to cover it, and we did a budget based on someone's work paper, and I don't even know I don't know how this went so wrong that on June 16th, we're just finding out about a $42,000 shortfall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably take over budgeting and the health insurance for next year.
Yeah. But this is a bill that's due now for July, is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And Jen didn't give any other information to me.
So again, John, would you like to hold off until we try to get more information?
Well, no, I mean, I think if it here the bill's going to come in, it's got to be paid. We've got to pay it. $42,000 is a full-time para at Norris. I mean, we're moving $360,000 around. That's half the ask that we look for. That now is just found within the general budget. So I think the health insurance needs to be paid. I mean, so I wouldn't want to hold that up.
Okay, understood. I think we can still get more clarity on it whenever we get back to finish these few others that we may not approve tonight. We can still ask for clarity on that if we can find any backup information to understand where that came from.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
In addition to the global concerns that have been raised about moving money from wages to expenses, and then the extraordinary capital request, I'm really concerned that whatever we work out here, it informs budgeting going forward. We got to get an anchor on this stuff and know what our year-on-year expenses are, as they may escalate. But for the public record, and this is really important to me, as John observed, this is half of what was on the table for an override to support our schools. And, given different timing and different information, I mean, if this is true, it would go a long ways towards meeting the needs of the schools. So for the record, because I don't know, do we have any ability, instead of granting this list of requests, to fund some of the work that would have been supported by the override had it passed?
Well, let me add to that just for clarity, because it's my understanding, other than the few things that we're hearing about, such as the capital request for radios or a couple of things like that. This, I'm assuming, Bradley, this is based on invoices that you've been shown that need to be paid. Am I not right? I mean, these are bills that have been incurred already by these various departments, with a couple of exceptions as we've been raising them here tonight. Is that correct or not? I mean, I don't think we have $360,000 that we just magically found to cover other things other than our internal budgeting here as laid out.
Most of these transfer requests have backup and reasoning for why we need the money, and I went and I found sources for those transfers if the department could not find the amount in their own department accounts. This is something we do every year. It's often done in 3 or 4 acts. This is one big one, so it looks bigger than normal. But
do you expect any? Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. This is one big one.
I'm just saying that. There's 17 requests when usually there was only 5 at a time.
Right. Okay. I think I was trying to say the same thing earlier on too, that, usually we had 4 or 5 different meetings to talk about end year requests. So I agree that this is a big one for a change, which we haven't usually seen. Do you, other than what we might not approve tonight, do you expect any others coming? You've put out a final call, have you not?
Yes, I asked everyone for any final requests, and I got an update from police chief and nothing else. So I assume we're all set.
Okay.
So
it would just be an extreme emergency that something happened and they have a invoice that they did not know. Like some department gets an invoice that they weren't planning on getting, and then it would be another request coming late.
Okay.
So I guess the question is, should they, I don't know who they are, but should they have the authority to okay these expenses before it comes to the select board, because we're approving these after the fact. When someone's already made the decision to spend 35,000 on radios and somebody's made the decision to spend an extra amount on health insurance or whatever.
Well, a lot of these are contractual, or we have to spend. Like health insurance, we have to provide regardless.
Right.
I'm sorry to jump in here, but I'm going to have to leave for another meeting. Luckily, we still have a quorum.
Yeah, and actually, I'm going to probably follow you, Becky. John, can you take over?
Sure.
All right.
Hi, I'm so sorry to interrupt. This is Nicole Marcotte with the Conservation Commission. I think there was maybe a miscommunication on scheduling for tonight's meeting with the shared account. We were supposed to start our meeting for 6:30, and we can't run two meetings at the same time. So we're aiming to hopefully start for 7 p.m. Otherwise, we may have to cancel.
Okay. Hopefully we
I
can be done by 7.
reschedule everything if you'd like.
Okay. So guys, I need to sign off for another meeting as well. If you'll take over, but I'm understanding out of this that there are at least 4 or 5 different lines that we might not approve tonight. If we could just be clear on which ones those are. Appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem. So we want, I didn't take any notes. Recap, we're gonna hold on Randall's request. And we're gonna hold on
Elementary.
I think it was a transportation budget for the elementary for that one. We wanted to make sure that the 3 invoices, or was everybody okay with that one? It was something with the schools.
We were going to table the elementary expenses, the 87,000, 81,000.
correct. Yep. Until we get the paperwork on that. The vocational transportation up top, I think that one's okay because it's a very odd number. And it's 2 invoices that we have in hand and anticipate another invoice coming in. I think the question there is we need to double check our budget number for this upcoming year if we built it off an erroneous number to start with, just so it doesn't keep cascading.
I move that we adjourn to a date and time certain.
Okay, do you want to approve all these other ones first, Stephen? And just hold J, K, L, and N for backup material so that Bradley can do these other entries?
Yes.
Okay.
I would accept that as a friendly amendment.
All right. Any discussion from the select board?
It's me. Can second that.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Lumber, aye. Passes. Finance?
Johnson, aye.
So I'll, in Becky's absence, I'll make a motion that Finance Committee approve the transfers with the exception, same as the Select Board, of J, K, L, and I believe that was N.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
I will second that. And just to confirm, was that N or M? N?
I think it was N.
And
Okay. Okay. Want to call the vote, Doug?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. If there's nothing else, is there anything else we have to deal with, Scott? Or no? We can adjourn? All
John, I was just going to say, if we're going to do budget numbers, we should check the health insurance budget number too, just to echo the other one, just to make sure.
Good point.
Yep.
Is Nicole still here?
Yes, I am, Stephen.
Yep.
All right. Someone who has control of this meeting should pass the baton.
Sounds
I will
good.
again,
Good.
I will again move we
let us
adjourn.
adjourn our
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.